Working in game development feels like a dream for many people, and it's easy to understand why. Games are everywhere, they shape culture, bring people together, and for many of us, they were a big part of growing up. So the idea of creating them, being part of that process, feels meaningful. But in reality, the situation is not as simple or as bright as it may seem. Today I want to talk honestly about how modern game development actually works, what it takes to be part of it, and why some people might want to think twice before choosing this path. If you take any game you like, chances are it wasn't made by a small group of friends. It was made by a large team, sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds of people. Each of them does a very specific job. There are programmers writing systems and gameplay logic, designers working on mechanics and levels, artists creating characters, environment and interfaces, sound designers shaping the audio experience. And what many people don't realize at first is how separated these roles can be. Different departments often work almost independently. A programmer may never deal with sound, a sound designer may never touch gameplay systems. Everyone contributes, but not always together in the way people imagine. Because of that, game development feels less like one unified creative act and more like a structured process. No matter which role you choose, one thing tends to stay the same. Finding a job is difficult. If you go into a niche field like sound design, there simply aren't many positions available. A studio might only need one or two specialists for an entire project. If you choose something more common like programming, the situation is different but not easier. There are more positions but also far more people trying to get them. It's not unusual for a single job posting to attract dozens or even hundreds of applicants. At the same time, the industry has been going through waves of layoffs, especially in large studios. Junior positions are often the first to disappear, and even experienced developers can find themselves suddenly looking for work. On top of that, tools based on artificial intelligence are changing how work is done. Companies invent lesson training beginners and expect people to already have strong practical skills. For someone just starting out, this creates a difficult situation. Another common expectation is that game development is mostly about creativity, something similar to filmmaking. There are similarities, of course. Games like films involve storytelling, visuals and direction, but in practice they are very different. A film can rely heavily on narrative and vision, a game cannot. A game has to function, it needs systems, balance, responsiveness, it has to work technically and feel right to play. Because of this, development often becomes a process of iteration rather than pure creation. You take existing ideas, mechanics that are already known to work, and try to combine them in ways that feels good. In larger studios especially, experimentation is limited. Not because people lack imagination, but because risk is expensive. Game development is, in many ways, a business first. Creativity exists, but it operates within constraints. Even the day-to-day work is not always what people expect. Yes, many developers genuinely enjoy what they do. Without that, it would be really hard to stay in the industry. But the work itself can be demanding. In large studios, deadlines can lead to long working hours. In smaller teams, uncertainty and pressure are constant. A lot of time is spent on things that are not visible to players. Fixing bugs, optimizing performance, adjusting details that most people will never notice. It's meaningful work, but it can also be exhausting. At this point, some people start thinking about independent development, making games on their own. And that is a real option. Many people do it, but it comes with its own difficulties. Making a game is only part of the process. You also need to think about marketing, visibility, community, and financial stability. There are well-known success stories like Toby Fox, but they are not as simple as they appear. Behind them are years of work, persistence, and often a fair amount of luck. Every year, many good games are released and go unnoticed, not because they are bad, but because they never reach an audience. For most independent developers, especially in the beginning, it's not a stable source of income. And yet, despite all of this, people continue to enter game development. There are reasons for that. It is a creative field, even with its limitations. It allows you to build something that others can experience. It brings you into contact with people who are passionate about what they do. Sometimes the team you work with becomes one of the most valuable parts of the experience. In the end, like any career, it comes down to what you value. There are paths that offer more stability or higher income. There are paths that offer more creative involvement. Game development sits somewhere in between, with its own challenges and its own rewards. It is not an easy field, it is not always fair, and it is certainly not for everyone. But if even after understanding all of this you still feel drawn to it, then it might be something worth pursuing. If you watch this video to the end, it means you are interested in this topic, so subscribe to get more insights and leave a like to get more videos like that.